The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
It all began in the emerald forests of Belgium, and tonight it will end under the sparkling lights of Florida. It's been a challenging Season 3 for many drivers, and while some of the championships have been decided, there are others so close that a matter of inches could wind up deciding who takes home the prizes. The sun has set on Daytona for today's final round, but it will not fully set on Season 3 of the AMGSC until the checkered flag falls tonight. You're watching Round 14 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge, and it's coming to you live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth tonight covering the prototype and GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Following the GT3 cars is Michael Smith, though we know him better as simply Smitty. Behind the scenes is our director Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Smitty, it's Daytona's road course tonight. Prototype and GT drivers should probably feel pretty at home here.
Yeah, certainly everyone should feel at home here at the place called the World Center of Racing. It's high banks playing host to multi-class racing for decades, these drivers of the Autobahn series being no exception. This 3.5-mile circuit features 12 turns to go along with those high banks, and while not looked at as the most technical track in the world, it still has a few tricks up its sleeve. We'll be under the lights for tonight's 90-minute contest, and it's sure to be a close race with the draft becoming that great equalizer. But now to get up close and personal look at what a lap around Daytona is all about, let's jump on board the GSRC Bimmer for tonight's lap guide.
Alright, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Daytona. You brake for turn 1 immediately after the start finish. It's a curved braking zone, transitions from banking to flat, and you're coming from the fastest part of the track to one of the slowest. How's that for a route introduction? Slip through this chicane flat out and then stay left to brake for the International Horseshoe. This is a potential passing zone, so be aware of your mirrors. You'll have a paved access road to the left, so you can use every bit of track to carry more speed off that exit. As we transition back right, the kink is going to be a flat-out blast, but you gotta get back to the left side very quickly and get set up for the Western Horseshoe. This is a really tricky apex to hit, and it's not uncommon to see cars slip wide. Now we get ready for 6, one of the most important corners on the track. This will dump you back onto the oval, so making sure your car is planted at the exit is going to determine how soon you can get on the loud pedal and carry your speed all the way around NASCAR 1 and 2. The good thing is, the steep Daytona banking means speeds are high, and picking up a draft is pretty easy. Stay within range, and you can ride the coattails of a faster car. If you've got the speed to clear the car ahead, do it. Otherwise, be wary of trying to outbrake them, because now you're going to spot your brake marker for the bus stop. It's very, very easy to blow any of these 4 apexes and get a cut course penalty. If you did it right, you're on the power before you've hit the 3rd apex. And it's going to be even more important than turn 6 that you get this right. Like I said at the start of the lap, this will lead you to the fastest part of the circuit. But like most rovals, you can expect a drafting game to play out, and cars are likely to attempt a last lap snipe. Your best hope is to push hard and break the draft before then. If you can, you really want to be the second car in line coming out of the bus stop. But that's a lap around Daytona. That should give you a good idea of what it takes to get around here at a quick pace. But let's go to the championship order, and today we're going to do things just slightly differently since so many of them have been decided up at the top. And Bill actually has a report of what championship battles are still hot and contested today.
I do indeed, and it's been a great season. And you know, the Beatles wrote, the long and winding road leads to your door. Well, today it leads to the Daytona International Speedway here for round 14 in the final round. Let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to start with our traditional look here at the team championship. Now, this is something we've been paying attention to all week. Team WFO has really kind of wrapped that up with Troy Schuster in the GTL class, leading away with Robbie Morrison in the GT3 and Matt Quinn. Keep an eye then also on the sister team OWF, with Paul Darling doing the lion's share of the points there in the with his roof. Mark Ponick also and Dino Topic giving in strong performances as well. And then Talon Motorsports was the preseason favorite, and Robert Tinsley pretty much brought that home. Now let's go to our next graphic we're going to talk about some of the other challenges and chases that we have going on here. Coming up next, we're going to see in just a minute, is going to be the prototype. Now, this is the battle for third. Keep an eye on Mark Ponick there. He has 298 points. We're going to watch him and see if John Ulmer's coming off that win at Road Atlanta, got him back in the hunt for a podium spot. Let's go ahead and hit the clicker, and we'll see what comes next up on the slide there. We're going to go at the Amateur Championship here. And that's going to be, keep an eye on Kevin Santana. He has 248 points, but right behind him is McLeish and Wilson, and that's in the prototype. So that's something we'll keep an eye on through the race. Clickaroo. We go to the next guy. Now, this is something that's going to be on the attention of all the viewers and the announcers as well. And that's the battle there between Troy Schuster and Jason Girard for the GTLM Championship. Now, dropped races could come into play in theory if both of these guys took each other out into the wall, but we want to avoid self-fulfilling prophecy, so we're not even going to drill deep into that scenario. Let's just say whoever finishes ahead of the other guy is going to be a winner in that one. Clickaroo, we'll see what comes next up on the slide. Hey, here we go. We have the battle for fourth place, and that's in the GTLM as well. Dave Hill, Dino Topich is in the battle there, Robert Jackman, and Billy Smith. They're all within 7 points of each other. Clickaroo, and we see the next one coming up, and that's going to be the GTD battle for third place, that final podium. Now, here's a couple guys that not only are battling for the points, but they find themselves next to each other on the track all the time. So that could be decided really by just a matter of seconds, because those guys are always close together. And I think we have one more. That's Lee Peterson and Ross Booth. One more, and that's going to be the Amateur Championship in the GT3 class. And that's Matt Owens, 162 points, has just a 5-point lead over David Henry. So we'll go ahead and put some focus on those guys today, see how that goes. Now, Joe, it's been a great series, and we opened with the Beetle quote. I'm going to close with the Beetle quote, and there it says, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And getting to sim race on a cool platform like iRacing with a bunch of friends in a great series kind of makes everyone a winner tonight.
Well, I guess everybody gets a gold star in Bill's class.
That's right.
So, as we watch Christopher Sherburne continue to put his laps in for qualifying, last chance qualifying out there right now as drivers who could not qualify within their specified class try to get a time in. Now, these guys obviously are going to want to be making passes today, and there's a few chances. It's a little bit easier to try to get around people here, Smitty. And what are some of the spots do you think that are most popular for overtakes to happen?
Well, one of the unique things, obviously, here at Daytona is going to be the draft. So, yeah, anytime that you can use that extra speed, overspeed, as some of the Europeans might call it, that draft, that slingshot, that's going to be the easiest way to get things done. However, aside from that, you've got several other opportunities, and one of the things that we might see today, linking in with the strategy, is that draft, you might not actually want to take advantage of it. Your best spots going into bus stop if you're a little bit braver, or coming off the making at the tri-oval. Those are your two spots that you can do it with the draft. But with fuel strategy being a key point today, you might not see people that actually duck out and make those passes. If they are going to make passes, they're going to probably want to do it in the International Horseshoe, which is that first right-hand hairpin on the infield. They could also do it in the second hairpin, or maybe even the final left-hander before you get onto the banking. But we could actually see a little bit more fall leader going on today, just because you don't want to be the person punching the hole in the air as you try to save that fuel.
And of course, there's some places, despite having a fair bit of runoff in most spots, I think it's going to be a little bit dangerous for these cars, Bill. And we have seen attrition come into play at races at Daytona before in other series.
Yeah, well, despite the fact that there are some loose dogs running on the track, I think what you have to watch out for is turn one. A lot of times on these Rovals, turn one is always they have the wall put in there, so that's a dangerous spot. I think that's going to be a problem, because it's kind of a passing zone, and then if you don't get a settled before you get there, it could be trouble. For me, though, the real trouble comes in the bus stop, because maybe not so much ending your race, but certainly getting a slowdown penalty, especially when you're dealing with not just two classes of cars, but three classes of cars. Especially if you're in that middle class, if you decide to pull out, you may be pulling around the slower car ahead of you, but there might be a faster prototype coming behind. So keep an eye. If I were buying a ticket, I'd like to buy something close to the bus stop.
Oh, I wish we could get tickets close to the bus stop. I've been to the track, and you can't get near it to watch anymore. It's really disappointing. But yeah, that is a fantastic place for action. Now, the action is going to start in a specific place. They've laid down a rule for that, Smitty. And where are the cars? Like, how is this start going to play out exactly? Because I think they've cracked down on that a little bit this week.
Yeah, they have. I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to make sure that these starts are going to be good and clean. So they got a couple of marks that they're trying to have where they're going to have the start of an acceleration zone right there where the pit lane starts, right where that little bend is there. You're going to have the start of the acceleration right there, and then the second point is a little bit further down when you get that starting line. That's going to be that second point where the green flag goes, and they're looking for a gap of about 5 seconds. So they're trying to have a little bit of a gap between each group, so if there is any turmoil, if there is any issues, at least we won't collect any of these secondary classes. But for sure, clean start is the name of the game here.
Absolutely, especially they want to get things sorted by the time they get to turn 1, which can have a bit of a bunch up, and it's very easy to lose it, even as you start the race on the green flag, losing it into the entry of that corner. And, speaking of that corner, Bill, the other thing that I kind of want to watch out for is we've also seen guys have trouble exiting the pits here. That is a very tricky little lane down there.
For such an intelligent racetrack, it dumps you right out into the traffic there, and you come out with everybody. At least the pit entrance is very similar to it is on the NASCAR track, so that's nice here. But yeah, pit entrance, if you're not paying attention, that can give you problems. It dumps you right out into the heart of the matter. Fortunately, I think that the pit cycle for all these cars are going to be a little bit different, so we're not going to be seeing a lot of cars coming off at the same time.
Yes, thankfully. And of course, there's that pit wall as well that you have to make sure not to go into there too hot, or else you actually could bin it just simply exiting the pits. Now, looking at our stories, as we've still got about 2 minutes left in qualifying, one of the things that I kind of want to watch out for is, and this is in the 2 classes that you're covering, Bill, is the difference between the GTLM cars and the prototypes. Those GTLMs have a high top speed, and I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see the prototypes and GTLM trip over each other a little bit on the banking.
That's kind of what I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about danger spots. I actually think when we're talking about trouble zones, I actually think, as silly as it sounds, the straightaway could be an issue because those cars, they're real similar in speed, and if they're not paying attention, they could get caught up because while the straightaway, the bank section is wide. In theory, it's not as wide usually because I think we're going to see a bunch of GT3 cars taking up the bottom part of the bank section. So when they get on the oval, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And maybe even if the GTLMs can maybe tuck in and get a tow, or they can tow off each other.
In fact, the tow came into play in qualifying for GTLM. Troy Schuster is in second, but Jason Girard, from what we understand and what I observed, Girard got a nice slipstream on his pole lap, as he is on provisional pole at the moment. And Troy Schuster, we are told, did not get a slipstream. Now, there is 0.3 difference between them currently, and they can't improve that time since both of them have finished their qualifying. But it should be interesting to see, does Girard really have that pace? He's in the Aston Martin, and Smitty, that Aston Martin is not known for being as good in a straight line as that vet.
No, it's not. You got that Chevrolet horsepower getting you down the straightaway in a pretty good way. But what we'll see is these guys playing it smart all the way through. As far as the championship goes, you do get a bonus point for grabbing that pole position. And when these guys need to finish in front of each other, even though you get 1 point for pole, you get more than that for finishing in front of the other person, so it can be made up. It's not all rote already. So things all to play for, but striking first already, Schuster, he's going to need to get a little bit more. Girard's got the advantage out of the gate.
Checkered flag now flies on the last chance qualifying session. Drivers will have the opportunity to finish their hot lap. I'm looking to see if anybody is putting laps in. It looks like Christopher Sherburne is the only one. So let's go through the qualifying order. John Ulmer is going to be on pole. He likes these American tracks. Daytona is no exception. He managed to pip Robert Tinsley to that top spot. He's going to be on the outside of the front row. Mark Ponick is going to be starting in third with Kevin Santana on the outside of row 2. Then it's going to be Matt Quinn starting in 5th and John O'Day in the 6th position. Mark Wilson, one of the guys fighting for that AM championship, he's going to be starting in 7th today. He'll be followed by Chance Kelly. Not a good qualifying for him today. And then Paul Slavonic starting in 9th. Rounding out the top 10, Bill, it's going to be Tim McLeish.
Then in row 6, actually, I have the final 2 prototypes. That's David Tejeda and Jeffrey Price. Then we get to the two guys we were talking about in GTLM, and that's Jason Girard there and Troy Schuster. If you can see the times that they don't have the times up there. We talked about Girard being a little faster. Again, I don't think it's going to matter because I think this is really going to be a draft race. Going down to the next row, good to see Billy Smith doing so well there. Mark Schindel outside of that. Down to the next row for the GTLM is Dino Topic and Robert Jackman. Rounding out 19th and 20th position, Brandon Postma and David Hill. Smilly?
Kevin Binkley is going to be in your next spot. That is 21st. A little bit further back than we've seen him before. Sean Reese is going to be in the 22nd position, and then Sheldon Woloshin rounding out that group of GTLM drivers in the 23rd spot. Leif Peterson's going to take the pole, it looks like, here for GT3. It's already a nice little shot in the arm for him. It's about 0.3 better than Chase Hudson, front runner here in the last few rounds. He's 25th overall. Paul Darling already clinched the championship in GT3. He's 26th. 27th is Ross Booth. Remember, he's taking the fight, trying to make things happen to Peterson, starting back a little bit further than he'd like. 27th. Kevin O'Keefe, Rutgers Kev in 28th position, followed by Jim McInnes in the BMW 29th, and David Henry in 30th.
Patrick Fleming is going to start off in 31st, followed by Robbie Morrison in 32nd. Then you've got Ryan Bird in 33rd, followed by Matt Owens, another guy fighting for something here today. He'll be in 34th. Paul Lindsay will be in 35th, followed by Sheldon Rosenbaum in the 36th position. Robert Beerus, not a name we see a lot around anymore. He is going to be starting in 37th. And then you've got Robert Sklenka in the 38th position. P39 is going to be Christopher Sherburne. You saw him qualifying there at the very end, was not able to improve much. A familiar name to people who've been watching this series is John Paquin, but he's starting in 40th. That's not the speed we're used to seeing from him. And I believe we have a couple non-qualifiers, Brett Trocine, Darren Kuhn, and Marcus Yesdal. I do not believe, I don't see them actually out on track, so I'm not sure that they are starting this race. Looks like it's going to be a field of 40 today, Bill.
Yeah, it must be a long drivers' meeting going on here for everyone giving their best wishes and everything for a good season. Well done. Great series. Yeah, it's nice to see John Paquin. I certainly hope he actually puts the car out on grid. He's always a fan favorite and an announcer favorite as well.
So,
certainly,
cars.
Yeah, he's a GT3 driver that knows how to go from the back, and I'd certainly be keeping an eye on him. It's going to be fun to watch, see how he gets through the field.
Yeah, and if ever there was a race that you'd want to be able to start from the back and work your way through, this would be a track for it. You've got plenty of chances to try and work your way up through the field. You can see the grid on the backstretch as they line up behind the pace car. They're going to work their way through the bus stop, head around NASCAR 3 and 4, and then we are going green for 90 minutes today here in the 14th round of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. And a special thank you definitely goes out to the Autobahn Motorcar Group for helping put this thing on there, the official sponsor of the series, and without them, we wouldn't have these 14 rounds that we saw here in Season 3. Clock is ticking down, and look at those rows of lights. You're going to see some flashing lights, I'm sure, at some point throughout the race. New feature on iRacing that the drivers are able to use and try and get each other, at least communicate with each other. Maybe not necessarily get each other out of the way, Smitty.
No, absolutely. Especially if you're one of those prototype drivers. We know that closing rate can be pretty heavy, but we know the GTLMs are quick in a straight line as well. So yeah, if you get a chance to flash those lights, let those guys know that, hey, I'm coming through. I'd rather you make it easier than harder on me. It would be nice, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of the flashing going on as these guys get out of the bus stop here, getting their pace lap underway. On pole there, you got Ulmer. Remember, we've seen him make things happen all year long and have ups and downs. He's had ups lately. I'd like to see him get to the end in one piece and maybe in victory lane.
Certainly would be a nice way for him to finish what has probably not been his favorite season, as he is still even fighting to get onto the podium in the points despite being up at the front for most of the qualifying and just having the speed, just can't quite bring it to the checkered flag in that same spot. So as they come off of NASCAR 4, off of the high banking, pace car getting ready to peel off that gold Mustang, heading towards the pits any moment now, and then we are going to go racing. There he goes. Ulmer has control. He can accelerate at any point after here, and he goes immediately, does not wait for the green flag, leaves Tinsey behind. And behind Tinsey, Santana slots into third. Same thing with John O'Day, a little bit of too wide behind him. Mostly the prototypes look pretty sorted through that first turn, so let's go to the GTLMs.
Gerard gets a great jump off the flag. Schuster going to tuck back into second. Billy Smith tucks into third position there as they head down into corner one. Schindel drops into fourth. Everyone looking pretty clean, making a nice move now into the fourth position as Dino Topic got ahead of Schindel. Smitty, what do you see in the GT3s?
Well, the GT3, they're just starting to get up to the acceleration zone here. We're waiting for it. The outside pole gets...
Sorry, we have a crash. I'm going to interrupt you. It looked like it might have been Topic who spun in the LMs.
Oh, and David Tejada is off. I'm trying to figure out where this is.
Bill, are they going to get cleared by the time the
Yeah,
GT3s
I think it's
get
okay.
there?
I think it's okay for you guys.
Tejada was in the Western Horseshoe, and he is actually trying to make his way around without getting in people's ways. He's stuck in the middle of the GTLMs, not the start for his race that he was wanting in the prototypes. Meanwhile, we're watching the GT3s up at the front as they work their way around the International Horseshoe.
Indeed, you see him right there as they're starting to go towards the kink. Flat out section here, maybe a little bit of a lift here in the early stages. Out front is Peterson, followed by Hudson, and then you got your champion darling, 3 Porsches in a row, or Roos, I should say, and then you're going to have a bit of a gap back to your first of the BMWs. That is Ross Booth, former winner in the series earlier this year.
I'm going to jump in real quick. It was Topic, Binkley was also involved in it, and Postma all got connected.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a battle for the overall lead. Ulmer's being challenged around the outside by Tinsey already on lap 1. Not able to get it done, though.
We were talking about possibly hanging tough and rolling along with that draft, perhaps going the other way. Maybe Tinsey thinks he can't do it on the safe fuel and just go hard, go home.
Well, and I think, Tinsey knows that this is a mental game, too, and he knows that he could possibly hassle Ulmer into a mistake. I wonder if he's maybe trying to press hard and see what he can squeeze out of this orange.
Well, and he's in the position for it too, isn't he? I mean, he's got the championship wrapped up. This is all about race wins right now, and if he can put the pressure on now, well, get it done.
See, Dino Topic had a moment. He was down off the banking and spun. I'm not sure what happened there.
Guys, I'm looking at the GT. I see Schuster. I'm not seeing the battle up there.
And we had a big wreck. I'm sorry. Ryan Bird got into contact with Patrick Fleming, and this was into NASCAR 3. Both cars look to be out of commission. Going to see if we can get a replay on that. It wasn't too long ago. This was heading out of the bus stop. 2 cars side by side. Here you're going to see it. Fleming does not get the exit he wants. Bird does. And just a little bit of side-by-side contact unsettles both cars, and huge hit into that outside wall.
I'll tell you what, Joe, that almost looked like net code there. It looked like Bird got to the inside of Fleming just fine. Maybe just gets a little bit too close. That'll be interesting to see if that was net code or not. Both those guys getting that fast repair that all these guys have.
Fleming actually had to take a tow. His car was smoking. I'm assuming that his engine had expired. Bird crabbed his way back, but it did not look very good on his way in. Meanwhile, up at the front of the prototypes, that battle is not over. Tinsey is still putting pressure on Ulmer, less than half a second behind that green and black machine.
Oh! Out of fourth, Kevin O'Keefe. GT3 driver Kevin O'Keefe out of fourth loses it. He had moved his way up to top 4 and just looked like he outbroke himself, lost the back end, going to the bus stop. You're going to see it on screen right now.
That's going to be disappointing for Rutgers, Kev. Yeah, you'll see it when that rear comes around into the bus stop. He's got 1 win to his name in this series, and I'm sure he would have fancied his chances today, but that's not helping him. It took him a while to get going, but it looks like he's not too damaged.
Yeah, he's still underway. He's going now. He's lost a little bit of time. We got a 3-wide situation in front of him. Guys backing out. It's all to play for right now. Guys are getting after it here in the final race of the season.
Trying to figure out who that was in front of O'Keefe. Looks like maybe it was Sklanka, Christopher Sherburne, and Dave Hill. Exactly. So I think that might have been 2 different classes. We've got a car off. That's Paul Lindsay into turn 1. So as we try to catch our breath with a lot of drivers falling by the wayside. Speaking of attrition, let's go to the GTLMs because, Bill, you have an update over there.
Okay, here's what's up. There's been so much going on, it's hard to tell you what's going on. Okay, you're going to see Schuster out in front, followed by Billy Smith in second. Drop back a little bit is Jason Girard, who just got around Brandon Postma. You may be asking, what's Girard doing back there in third position? Well, on lap 1, he was the leader, got a slowdown penalty in the bus stop, had to fall back, went all the way back to fourth. He's got that picked up. Then ahead of these guys, the last car in the prototype, David Tejeda, has spun the car a couple times, almost collected the leaders in the GTLM cars, but now it's settling down, Joe.
If you can call that settled down. Girard has some work to do then. Even though he has the pole, he's got to finish in front of Schuster if he wants this championship. And even more importantly, these guys are tied on wins at this point. So if one of them wins, that is going even further to deciding who gets this championship.
Hey, Bill, I want to get at your opinion here. I figured that these guys would maybe play nice a little bit here, get into this 90-minute run. It's been frantic here at the beginning, especially out of these guys who are going for championships.
Yeah, one of the things we're hearing is that it's a two-stop race if they manage their fuel. It's a three-stop race if they're all by themselves. So we go ahead, we look up here we'll go to the GT3 battle, but I think that's going to be the case for a lot of stuff where drivers going to want to just save fuel.
Yeah, I think the only ones actually doing that are the GT3s. I think you're seeing them on screen right now. These guys are actually just nose to tail. They've been that way since the start, and I think these guys are playing that fuel-saving game.
Yeah, currently we're watching Darling in second trying to chase down Hudson. Well, pun actually not intended, I swear. But as we watch that, let's stay on this in case something erupts. But just a quick note, John Paquin already up to fourth in class if my timing and scoring is correct. Six, actually, excuse me. So not quite up to fourth, but still impressive run for him. So up at the front, Darling still all over the back of Hudson, and just behind them, that's Leif Peterson. I believe it was Peterson who was battling with Morrison for P3 in that GT3 championship.
Yeah, Peterson's actually fighting with Booth. Peterson's third currently. He's tied with Booth. Right now, advantage to Peterson, just kind of driving around. But Booth isn't doing too bad. He's the leader of the BMW drivers in the GT3 group, currently running fourth in class. And he'll need to find a little bit more if he's going to be able to move into that third spot on his own. But also, running a smart race, staying clean. The GT3 guys seem to be doing that pretty well here at the sharp end.
So we watch them work their way up into turn one. Just a note, I was kind of keeping an eye on Paul Darling. He did lift when he got close to Chase down into the braking for turn one. So I think Darling is in conserve mode right now.
Yeah, again, that's a smart way to go. I mean, why not? You know, right now, again, Darling, he's already got a championship wrapped up. He's just trying to get to the end here, and then he can start fighting. Ooh. He's in position. Although, that was a bit of contact possibly. Peterson and Darling, very close between those two drivers. Looks like maybe a miscue as Darling goes off a little bit. This is not how you go single file, gentlemen. You gotta play a little bit nicer than that.
I don't know if we're gonna have time with all the action, but Sheldon Rosenbaum did make contact with Robert Tinsey. So implications there, possibly for later in the race if Tinsey got any damage from that. Sheldon was basically punted off in turn one, and I think he took a tow even. Whoa, and I'm sorry, we had a 3 wide for GT3s down into the bus stop. That's almost settled out. They're still 2 wide. And is that Hudson that went off?
No, it's Peterson. Peterson was off there. He was the one out front. He had gone from third up into challenging for first. I don't know if maybe he saw some illusions of grandeur there or not, but bit of a moment. Looks like he's going to keep going. No harm, no foul. Just move along a little bit.
Well, actually, it might be a harm to him because he might have lost the draft here with that move. Look at how far he dropped back. He's going to have to hustle to catch up to both Hudson and Darling now. As the braking allows him to close in a little bit, he's going to try and square off the first corner, see if he can gain that ground, and now they got the leaders coming through.
Yeah, this is exactly what he did. Once insult to injury as the prototype starting to come through. Ulmer having a good run so far, now getting through the GT3s for the first time. He's right on board right now. That is Hudson. P2 and GT3's gonna move over to the side, let him on go. I don't think he's gonna get Darling. He'll have to wait for the horseshoe. Gets it down to the inside, so smooth and clean for him. He'll have a little bit more green racetrack and clean racing before he gets into the GTLM drivers.
And Tinsley's in his pit stall. What happened to Tinsley?
I've been going back to look. He had fallen back. I was seeing if he got into some trouble somewhere. He was dropping positions. I'm going to see if I can hunt for it.
That had to been from that damage he had from that contact we just seen it.
That's what I'm guessing. I'm looking to see. He's riding down on the apron. This is interesting. Did he have contact with the GTLM car, though? Might have been slight contact with, I think it was Robert Jackman a little bit earlier in the lap as well, as Jackman had to take evasive maneuvers on the banking to get around him.
Well, that's bad news. The good news for him is he can probably make this now a 3-stop race. He doesn't have to worry about saving fuel, and he can run full out the whole time, but he'll have to run hard for an hour and 18 minutes.
Tinsley on to plan B, apparently. Not intentionally, though. That's going to allow John Ulmer to start to streak away his gap over the current P2 driver of Mark Ponick over 8 seconds. So he has got clear track behind. He's just dealing with traffic now as he tries to work past Ryan Bird.
As I'll tell you, what is pretty hectic here at the front of the GT3 group is the prototypes trying to get through right now, and they're trying to get through in earnest as the headlights are flashing. I've got my eye on Peterson right now. He's 3rd in class. He just had the driver in the prototype with Matt Quinn try to get through. But Paquin from very far back, another roof driver, they're in 4th right with him. So there's 3 roofs at the front. And right behind those guys is Ross Booth. To your point earlier about losing that draft possibly, well, it's not so much the draft as the faster drivers coming through. It's got Booth back in the game, trying to hunt down Peterson for that position in the standings.
Multi-class racing taketh and multi-class racing giveth, as sometimes you gain a little bit from someone having to overtake you, and sometimes you lose a little bit.
I tell you, these guys got to be nice and calm. We still got a lot of racing to go. I mean, about over an hour 15 to go, and we've had a lot of action already in the first 10 plus minutes.
that's putting it lightly, I think, Smitty. We've still got an hour and 17 left to go. We're only on lap 8 as we watch the leader of the GT3's Darling work his way onto the banking. Hudson still staying close within striking distance. Same thing with Peterson, and here we've got Paquin now into 4th, but they're going to get split up once again because here comes John O'Day. I think he's going to get these 2 in P3 and P4. He's going to slot in probably just between, as he gets very close to Peterson there for a moment, having to go way around the outside, isn't able to get the pass done, so now he's going to have to try and sneak by these guys, and one of the worst parts of the circuit, to be stuck with this slower traffic.
I'll tell you, I would think that maybe whoa, another very close moment there with Peterson and that prototype. I was just going to say, I would think that maybe Peterson would ride along a little bit more, knowing that he just needs to be in front of Booth to get that spot in the standings. But he's pushing hard. I think he sees possible win.
Look at him almost get into John O'Day. Whoa. I think that was
real hard.
I think credit to John O'Day on that little almost incident, because he saw it coming and he stayed wide. He made sure not to cut in on him. Unfortunately, gets in the way of Chase Hudson and cost Chase Hudson a lot of time through 6.
That's going to give that draft well endowed with the driver of Peterson here as they go towards the bus stop. Bus stop's going to be the place where he'll close up. Let's see if Peterson can get close enough. We've got Paquin right there with him. Very, very close in GT3s right now.
Look at this. P2, 3, and 4. And Paquin almost gets into the back of Peterson as well. And that costs his time. And he's got Mark Wilson trying to sneak by him. And Wilson looks to be in a battle with Slavonic. And that's closed those two up.
So the big winner here is going to be Booth. 5th in that BMW. He's going to snag that draft away from Paquin. Maybe drag him up to the top.
Now, if Booth is smart, and I'm sure he knows what Paquin's speed is, I think he's just going to slot in line behind Paquin and ride these coattails, knowing he can make up a lot of time on these roofs.
Wow. Almost 3 wide here in front of him. Very, very close between the prototypes trying to get through the GT3s. They are begging for something bad to happen here, friends.
I thought that the interclass traffic was going to be a lot easier around here, but I've been proven wrong so far.
Is this the season finale or the season opener?
Well, I guess with it being the season finale, everybody's hell on wheels now.
Let's go to GTLM real quick. I think I have a pass for the lead here. Billy Smith is making a move on Schuster.
Smith, a name for the lead we haven't got to see a whole lot here in GTLM, but he doesn't quite have the oomph as Schuster's got the inside down into turn 1. Smith with flames looking out of the side of that car, not able to overtake around the outside of 1. That's a hard ask.
Now running for Smith, though.
Yeah, running these guys down. Smith's been behind Schuster the whole time. And again, we talked about fuel. I'm not so sure if Schuster is happy being out there doing all the work while Billy Smith's been following him. But meanwhile, what's going on behind these guys, we talked about the slowdown penalty that Gerard had. He's slowly being able to run these guys down now. He'll be up there in about maybe 4 or 5 minutes. He should be up with these guys.
Hey, Bill,
Schuster.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just looking at the standings there. Smith, if he stays out there where he's at, he's got a good shot of leapfrogging all these guys all the way to 4th. Remember, he's trying to beat Hill, Topich, and
Right.
Jackman.
Yeah, and there's the points are weighted where you get more. It's not like 1 point as you go down. You get big points for being up front and getting those higher positions. So yeah, especially with Jackman and those guys running farther down the field right now.
Meanwhile, sounds like there's some action in GT3. I see actually Paul Lindsay has bended. And we've jumped up to the top, though, because Paquin is trying to hold off. Is this Peterson, actually?
Well, he's got a schmozzle behind him. This is insane
Oh, my
what's
gosh.
going on. You got Peterson, you got prototypes, you got everybody right there with him. That is Paquin right there on screen. We're focused on him. Right behind him, you have now a prototype. You had Peterson before. He launched it off the banking to try and make things happen. He's been fairly patient-ish with these dives, but now I think he's trying to go forward.
Man, this is an absolute traffic jam.
Uh-oh. And that's Kelly got loose in front of Paquin.
And I believe, if I'm reading the paint schemes right, Kelly is Paquin's teammate, actually.
Oh.
Although I've not seen it on the broadcast. I guess on my screen we've got a little bit of a different scheme on Kelly, but Kelly is under threat with Kevin Santana. Wow! Having to dive to the inside suddenly, and they're coming up on traffic in the form of Chase Hudson. Don't quite catch him once they hit the inner loop. Santana slides in front of Kelly. Can Kelly try and return the favor in the draft out of the bus stop?
And just to confirm that, Joe, yeah, you're right. Kelly and Paquin are teammates for P1 Racing.
Those of you guys who've been following us all the way through the season, Paquin hasn't been running with us all season, but he is one of the better drivers that we have seen in the series, contending for championships, etc. last year for sure. So, guy knows how to get around here. It's definitely no accident that he's at the sharp end.
So as we watch this lead for first in the GT3s, it's still Darling up in front of Chase Hudson. And now John Paquin into P3. Is he going to spoil the party and overtake both of these guys?
Good to see John back racing with us again.
He was definitely missed. I know there were a lot of drivers between races. He would poke his nose into the forum and give his thoughts on a few things, and they asked him to come back, and he said no for a while. I'm not sure what changed his mind, but I'm certainly glad to see him. He's added some spice to this race.
Just going to throw it out there. Don't nothing to go to or anything like that, but for you Kevin O'Keefe fans, he unfortunately was disconnected and just rejoined, so his night goes from bad to worse. Kevin O'Keefe going to go out there and run some more laps, but definitely out of the running for tonight.
Still a successful season for Rutger Kev, though he had a win earlier this season, and that's something he can hang his hat on.
Yeah, also a guy who didn't run the whole championship either. So if he decides to come back and run the whole thing next year, he can be at the sharp end, I would imagine.
For those curious, the gap up at the very front, John Ulmer still leading by about 10 seconds over Ponick.
Yeah, as we said earlier, John knows how to get around these American tracks. Something about him that just clicks with old John Ulmer, and big lead for him. It's something he likes to have. He can maybe rest on his laurels or go in a bit of a rhythm. Get to his first pit stop, probably going to happen here the next 3 or so laps.
Let's head back to Paquin because he has reeled in Hudson very quickly and was actually right on his rear bumper into the International Horseshoe. Wasn't able to do anything, but look at him close under braking. Looks up so much stronger down to these hard braking zones. I'm guessing he's going to wait until he gets a good draft here on the banking.
Yeah, he's definitely not somebody who's been saving fuel, so he may be trying to make hay while the sun shines, do as much as he can to get out in front. He's got to make that extra stop. It's going to be interesting to see if he can get to the front.
Let's go to Let's go to Matt Quinn here and Ponick, and maybe we can get actually a replay of it. Ponick almost, there's a battle going on. Ponick almost got into the back of Brandon Postma. Oh.
Let's watch the replay, and I think we saw on screen that Mark Ponick actually was off track to get around there.
Watch this, they come into corner one.
Oh, that was close.
That's a battle for position there between Postma and Ponick. Or I'm sorry, between not Postma, it's not in
Ponick
there.
and
Ponick
Quinn,
and Quinn, yeah.
And Quinn actually had to go very wide on that exit. He's lucky he didn't slip it off into the grass. You can see this battle is not over as they come around 6 onto the baking. Unfortunately, I don't think Ponick got enough of a run off that corner. Draft is just a little bit too far away. Stuck in position. Oh, Gerard. Did Gerard have a moment? Yes, he did. Gonna go to replay. This happened when John Ulmer went to the inside down into the bus stop, and I think it just unsided Gerard slightly. Almost got hit by a couple cars, but managed to keep it out of it. You can see there.
Good news for him is it doesn't look like he got hit or hit anything. Bad news is the amount of time he's lost to our leader, Troy Schuster, the guy he's trying to beat in the championship.
Can't stress enough to our viewers how important this is. This is for the overall GTLM championship. Gerard has to get ahead of Schuster if he wants to take home the crown. And remember, this is a guy who missed out on finishing first in the prototypes last season simply because he missed a couple of the few races. It'd be such a shame if he missed out by a scant few points today because of the final round.
Last thing about this Autobahn series, we've seen things come down to the very last lap. It is very, very fierce, the fighting in this championship.
A little bit stuck behind Matt Owens. He's one of the AM Championship contenders. You can see he told us he painted his hood bright yellow so that we remember that this time.
Just to follow up on the GTLMs, Schuster and Smith were running real close together. We almost saw Smith make a pass for the lead. Then they got separated by lap traffic or by a slower class. Ever since then, Schuster has left Smith behind, so clearly Smith was hanging on by the draft. Schuster's really opened it up now to about 8 seconds.
Yeah, Smith's qualifying as a 39.8 and Schuster's with a 39.7, so there was only a tenth between them, but it looks like that's all that they needed was Schuster to start to extend that gap, and now he can break the chains and start to leave him behind, as you said, Bill.
But keep in mind, the faster you go, the more thirsty your car is, so
exactly.
It could come down to pit stops here. For the first 24 minutes, Billy Smith was behind Schuster the whole way.
I'm not sure if it's going to be enough with how tight we heard it was. Remember, he's got to be able to draft with someone in the second half as well. So
let's go back to Quinn and Owens again. This thing's not ending here. There's a great battle going on. Quinn and Ponick, sorry.
Yeah, this is in the prototypes for the second position. Quinn in the red machine up ahead of Ponick. And again, these are sister teams that these two are on. However, this is very much a battle for position. These guys want those bragging rights.
Now Ponick in the blue car was actually ahead of Quinn, and I'm going to call that red, I guess that color is there. Looks like the Canadian flag maybe, so I'm sure it's red. And then Pona got chased down, but he is fighting back.
It is indeed red, and the machine in front. I see Sheldon Miloshin way off course. That's in the International Horseshoe. I'm not sure that he hit anything, though. Yeah, it looks like just a trip through the grass for Sheldon Miloshin, and he's back out on course. Meanwhile, we'll continue to watch this battle as they work their way inside of Billy Smith. Just a little bit of traffic to give breathing room to Matt Quinn for a moment there.
Oh, we had contact. Second and third in GT3. If we can get this, Lee Peterson just was contacted there by Hudson. We're going to catch it on screen here. Heading down in the corner. Look at the inside. Here comes Hudson. Already a little sideways is Peterson. Hudson finishes him off. That was on Peterson getting rotated through there. These guys have been battling hard. And this time it is mistake from Peterson. Again, a driver trying to be up front in the championship. He's fighting with Booth for third in GT3. This is a turning point for him.
Get a rear
engine. In fact,
engine.
there goes Booth. You see it on the screen. Booth, by making that pass, basically just took third place in the championship.
And this pendulum swing once more time. I was going to say, you get a rear engine car, try to break into a heavy braking zone that's curved, coming off of banking. Eventually, something has to give if you get it wrong. So Leif Peterson goes for a loop, slips down into sixth in class.
Joe, that's the second time we've seen our championship contenders of some kind of position, whether it be an overall or a podium, making a mistake. We first saw it from Gerard in the bus stop, and now Peterson off at turn number one. These guys must not be thinking about championship, instead thinking about wins.
You know what? The other thing I think is the pressure is on for these guys. It is the last chance, last call moment. So someone is buckling under pressure. It's going to go to the guys that keep from making mistakes, as we see Paquin duck off into the pits with about 27 minutes into this run.
27 minutes is not going to get it done to make things happen in just two stops. So it looks like Paquin, as we thought, he was pushing real hard from the back of the pack. Looks like it's going to be a three-stop strategy for the number 71.
Oh, Paquin did not stop in his pit stall. What in the world happened there?
I don't know what kind of strategy that would be, guys. I don't know. Four stop?
I wonder if he missed his pit stall. Remember, it's at the very back.
You know what? I bet you he didn't realize he's never had a pit stall so far back down pit lane before.
I was just thinking the same thing. So, possibly driver error from John Paquin. That is going to be costly. We've got other cars in the pits, though. Matt Quinn has taken his stop. Tim McLeish coming in for his stop. Chance Kelly as well. I see Gerard in his pit stall. Mark Schindel coming in. Brandon Postma, Kevin Binkley. It's all kicking off as we're hitting that magic 1/3 mark.
Still a little over an hour to play, so it's going to be still real tight for these guys. They can't go full on. Some of these guys have been out front most of the time. Guys like Schuster, guys like Darling, guys like Ulmer. They've been leading almost the entire time. Have they been trying to save fuel while they've been doing it?
I'm thinking it's looking like if they stretch the next stint out, we're going to see a lot of people pitting with 5 minutes left to go.
Yeah, the second stop will be telling. If it's not inside that 30-minute mark, it's going to be game over.
And Ulmer is in, our overall leader. In fact, he's gone one of the longest, so Ulmer is able to be fast and save fuel, it seems. If this stop is long enough, Ulmer might be able to make it.
Well, remember, too, his primary challenger of Tinsey had those issues. So with Tinsey coming in, he's maybe able to back it off a little bit, save some gas. So it could be big for Ulmer.
Schuster and Smith, the GTLM leaders, have come in. I'm watching the clock to see how long Ulmer is able to make it. It's going to be extremely tight for him. Ulmer is out with about a minute and 50 left, or an hour and 50 seconds left. That means it's going to be about 2 minutes shy unless he starts to save a lot of fuel. Meanwhile, we see Paquin go up on the jacks. He found his pit stall this time.
That had to have been what it is. You look at how short it is, too. It's right there at the entry.
I think that is, yeah. He's the very last one, it looks like.
Yeah, he certainly came in there, and as soon as you miss it, you got no other option but get to the end and make another lap. So a possible GT3 winner challenger now probably just going to be trying to make the best of it as he can.
And, you know, I'm impressed that he made it to his pit stall, because if he had run his fuel all the way to the end, I'm amazed that he made it back.
Well, I'll tell you, talk about amazed and making it back. How about Paul Darling, leader right now in GT3, still out, has not made the stop. Now he's coming up on it now to see if he comes in. He's got the draft of another GT3 driver. Stays out. Paul Darling staying out right now.
Let's get a replay moment. Sorry, Dino Topic a few minutes ago, or not a few minutes ago, about 30 seconds ago, headed into the bus stop, scared a whole gaggle of drivers. Now watch this, guys, and tell me this isn't a soil your pants moment. Coming down the backstretch here, he tries to overtake McInnes in the GT3 BMW. It starts out well enough, but then it starts to go wrong partway through. Everybody scatters.
See that wing on Topic here is a little crinkled. I wonder if he just didn't quite have the downforce needed to get through the bus stop.
Well, he's in his pit stall now, so he has a chance to try and get that repaired. And they do have a fast repair, but I don't think that's enough damage for him to want that.
Yeah, as long as he keeps that in mind next time he goes through the bus stop. Of course, he was probably on old tires as well, so it was a little bit of an insult to injury.
Remember, he had a lap 1 incident, so he may have used his free repair.
Now you see that left rear, it's a little bit more crinkled than I thought. Oh, it could be a long race for Topic.
Guys, I'm going to give you a name to keep an eye on in the prototypes here. Let's go to Paul Slavonic. He's just coming out of the pits right now. He was the last car to run. He ran an extra lap farther than Ulmer and the gang on the lead lap. If fuel is an issue for those leaders up there, it won't be for Slavonic. He's got it down. He came in with past the 1 hour mark.
Yeah, anybody going to the pits now has got to be in pretty good shape, you would assume. And all of our GT3 front runners, Darling, Hudson, Booth, Peterson, all still out, have not made any stops. So it looks like it could be no problem for the GT3 guys as they go one more lap. Peterson is coming in. Darling is in, but the other guys are staying out.
Darling hits his marks. Oh, no, Darling does not hit his marks. He has to back up into his stall. So, and I believe that's Peterson coming in just behind him. Once these guys are in and out, then we can give you the order after our first set of pit stops. This is going to allow Peterson to gain a little bit of ground. Same thing with Chase. In fact, I wonder if that's going to be enough for Chase to leapfrog him in the pit stops.
They were not very far apart, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And Booth very deep under the brakes. Booth has come alive here right at the end of this first stint. Furthest up of the BMWs, looking good right now for the guy challenging for a podium in class.
Booth actually not far behind Chase Hudson at the moment. There you can see Hudson in the white and red roof. The BMW also in white and red behind him. That is Ross Booth.
Yeah, we haven't talked about him at all, but that's Patrick Fleming just behind Booth as well. He's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. He's a lap behind, but he's still trying to put in a smooth run as much as he can.
Yes, that is not for position for Fleming with the two cars ahead of him. But we're coming up to... Oh, and Ross Booth disappeared from my screen for a moment there.
Same here, gentlemen. Same here. Hopefully, no connection issues for the rest of the deal for Booth. Hudson going to come on in. No? Yes? What are you doing? Yes, he goes. Booth going to follow him with. Get down to the right speed limit. You see the limiters coming on with those guys. Booth's going to get to his stop first. See those flashing lights on the front of the BMW. That is the limiter on.
Now, does Chase hit his marks, though? That's the question. Because if he gets a good stop... Oh.
I think Hudson missed his stall. He is back on course, guys.
Wow. So,
does he even have enough fuel?
Oh my goodness. This could be a big change for the lead once again. And Darling is coming by the start-finish line just now.
Guys, two of the top 5 missing their stops. Wow.
And Darling is well ahead of Booth. But yeah, can Chase Hudson get around? We need to maybe get a few of these guys sponsored by some eyeglass companies or something like that here.
Ouch. Well, I'll tell you what, the guy leading was Darling. He was the guy to beat in GT3. The guys closest to him were Peterson, Hudson, and Paquin. Now, Peterson had his off and on and then the spin in turn 1, so he had his own issue there. And then Hudson and Paquin both missed their stalls. So now P2 has got to be looking like Booth.
Owens has also come in for his stop. I see Sherburne just came into his stall. Same thing with Sklanka. You can see them all lined up there. I wonder if these BMWs are just making better fuel here. A lot of BMWs going one lap longer.
He's running out of gas, guys. Hudson is sputtering right now on the banking. He's on the apron now. It's going to go from bad to worse for Chase Hudson. He's going to be a guy to watch as he tries to come back up. He's going to make it, but losing a ton of time.
I'm not sure if he is going to be able to coast to his stall, though. He's going very, very slowly here.
I think he'll probably make it, but because he doesn't go all the way down. Remember, all those GTLMs, all those prototypes are going to be in front of him, so his stall should be here pretty quick.
Just barely. It looks like he's maybe down to about 40 miles an hour here.
Wow, that is unfortunate for Hudson. He actually made mention that he didn't have quite enough fuel even during qualifying. So it's not exactly been the nicest thing. Whoever's doing the math calculations for fuel on that team is probably going to be fired after this race.
Meanwhile, battle on screen. Gerard overtaking Billy Smith. And that's got championship implications once again. Gerard on a charge, trying to make up for lost time, smoking the tires as he trail breaks his way around the corner.
Smith had been running in second the entire race, so Gerard gets up there now. Boy, he's really doing the James Bond for Billy Smith.
And that was a long lock up there.
Yeah.
I've been noticing them doing that pretty much all night around the horseshoes. And we've seen that with the Corvettes in previous broadcasts at Sebring for the Pacific Majors, that they were smoking those tires a lot. I've not seen the Aston Martins do that yet. That's interesting.
Yeah, we actually saw the Aston Martin doing that as well in that same series with Troy Schultz actually had the Aston Martin on board, and he was making that thing happen as well. I'm not sure. I haven't seen too much out of the vets, actually. I think it's the other way around, Joe. I think it's those Aston Martins that are smoking them up.
As we watch Troy Schuster, though, Billy Smith is not giving up that position easily. He is right back on the rear of Jason Gerard. But the question is, does Billy Smith hang back there and save fuel, or does he try and challenge?
That's a good point, too. They were a little bit shy of that mark, I think. So, but looks like it's going to get the toe and up the inside.
There's your answer. Billy Smith goes on around. He is not interested in saving fuel. They're going to have lap traffic in the form of Paul Darling in front of them. Going to close up under braking. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to try and squeeze by here in the infield section. It's going to be very tight if he does. Billy Smith tries to stick his nose in. Gerard, is he going to try and follow? He's given room by Darling, and he makes it through.
And he was late on the brakes there, wasn't he? Saw the smoke on that right front. He was definitely trying to make sure he followed him through.
Not willing to sit around and lollygag behind traffic. Down into the western horseshoe. They've got a little bit more. No, they do not have traffic. That is Mark Wilson ahead of them. He's not going to help them up. Oh, and problems for Robert Beerus, and unfortunately it looks like a case of cold brakes and cold tires. See if we can get a replay. This Robert Beerus coming out of the pits just has the embarrassing moment of sending it right to the tires. And you know, I will say that it's very easy to do this in one of my Daytona 24s. I can remember Smitty coming out and immediately going off into that grass and just praying I don't go into those tires.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You start getting in a rhythm. You run at full speed and whatnot, and then you got to do all this slow business coming out of the pits. As you see Robert Tinsley getting done with pit number 2. That seems
Yeah.
to be a bit off.
No,
for me.
he had trouble early, so he took one in lap 7. So he's on the same schedule as everybody else, but he came out for position. That's Slavonic right ahead of him.
Nah, gotcha. I thought it happened a little bit sooner than that, so that's still going to be a long ask for him to try to make some things happen. Still 5th ain't bad. Trying to make some things happen, maybe even gets a podium. He's going to have to push pretty hard to make it happen, though.
Yeah, he was
Undoubtedly.
actually running up, running in second position there. Him and the other car that was Kevin Santana also made an early stop. So they're 3 stopping it, while everyone else is probably 2 stopping it.
All right, I'm pretty sure we've got most guys through their first and some through their second stops. So let's go through the top 5 in each class. John Ulmer leading the way. Could be looking at his 3rd win of the season here if he can hold it together. Matt Quinn, great race from him. He's about 14 seconds back.
I'm going to interrupt you. Brandon Postma has spun it in front of some guys. Didn't look like he got collected. Was running 4th.
It was right on screen as Joe was going through that. It did look like everybody got through. Remember, Postman has already wrapped up the AM championship in his class, but that's definitely not the way he wanted things to go there, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sure. Quinn, as we said, in second place. Mark Honig, a nice 3rd for him, but he's going to want to have to get closer to Ulmer if he wants him not to be overtaken in the points championship. Robert Tinsey, despite all his problems, is still in 4th place. And rounding out the top 5, Bill, is Paul Slavonic. What's GTLM look like?
Well, Troy Schuster's been out in front the whole way, having a nice Monday night drive there. Second place is that battle between Billy Smith right now. Let's see who's ahead of it. It is Billy Smith has got back ahead, started to pull away from Jason Girard there.
Wow.
Yeah, look at
wide.
Smith in that mix.
Oh my goodness, down into turn 1. It's hard enough to do 2 wide, but they all come out whole.
In there with Robert Jackman and Dino Topic. Jackman and Topic battling for a 20th position there in that class. So you see back behind them is Girard. They're running in 13th overall, 3rd in class. Then if we drop back, we have to leave those guys a little bit. We get back to Brandon Postma, who we just saw spin. Is he still ahead of Schindel?
It looks
No,
like
it's the
Schindel
other way,
was
yeah.
in 4th, yeah.
Schindel, passed him when Postma spun. So there you have it.
After that, you
Quickly
get
rounds out the top 5. And on the
big with the top
GT3.
5 there. You see him on screen. It's big for him because he had a bit of a rough thing at the very beginning, having to come from pretty far back. So for top 5 Binkley already, that's big for him in the GTLM. Looking at the GT3s, your leader right now is Paul Darling. He is the guy been out front. He had some challengers early, but right now it's all Paul Darling. Second place right now is a guy who's very, very happy with this, and that is Ross Booth. Ross Booth was hanging out in 4th, 5th for a while. Issues with the guys in front. Now he's in 2nd, looking good to move up in the championship and lock down that 3rd place. In 3rd in class is John Paquin. We saw him not only have some issues in the bus stop, but then miss his pit stall. Back out, 3rd place, and charging. Guy is flying right now. Behind him is Robbie Morrison, guy who's already locked up 2nd place in the championship, riding around in 4th right now. Behind him and rounding out the top 5 in GP3 is Leif Peterson. He is the guy who's trying to get up there and catch Booth. So it's not over yet for him, but his job got a lot harder a few laps ago.
Well, Booth is proving in endurance racing it's not always the fastest this wins. It's the fastest over the entirety of the race. So he is looking very good for that 2nd place at the moment, but there's still half the race yet to go, with almost hitting that 45-minute mark as he trails his teammate Sean Reese into the first turn. So, let's see if we can find ourselves a battle.
How about we go to Quinn? How about Quinn and Ponick? These guys are always battling. Actually, Mark Ponick is giving Quinn the flashing lights. That's funny.
Well, you know, any psychological edge that you can give, he might be trying to say something else. I'm not totally sure. Maybe that he wants to work together. But yes, he has been keeping him within under half a second as you see them work their way through the infield. Ponick again in the blue machine, the red machine being Matt Quinn. I see Christopher Sherburn off track, and it looks like he didn't hit anything. Interestingly, it looks like just driver error, slid off at the International Horseshoe.
Our director saying that maybe Ponick's giving Quinn some Morse code with the flashing lights there, I think.
Probably not any words we can say on the broadcast.
We've seen those guys race together a long time. In fact, there was some of the post-race chat after the race. They race so politely together. I'm almost thinking that they had something worked out, and they go, "No, we race hard. That's just how we race."
Those have been splitting up a little bit, almost a second between them. A little farther down the field, Kevin Binkley and GTLM trying to chase down Mark Schindel. That is for position. That's for 5th and 4th.
Let's go back to that battle, because I think we may have a pass here.
Oh, you're right. Honig up on the outside.
What happened is that the lead car there, Quinn, got caught up behind the slower car in the bus stop and lost momentum.
Stuck up on the outside, stalls out on top end, and he's not able to do it.
All right. We'll come back to them later.
Now I see that Jeffrey Price was saying that his season is over. I'm trying to see if I can find what happened to him. Looks like it might be a while back, though, unfortunately. Not able to see what exactly happened. We're hearing that he may have simply parked it.
Okay. Let's go back to Binkley now, because the guys we were just watching get into that other battle you were talking about there as Quinn and Ponik now have got through, and they split up that other battle that I interrupted you about, the battle between Binkley and the car ahead, Schindel, running up there in 14th position, 4th in class.
And it looks like they're going to catch Schindel at a place that's much more convenient for him. At least one of them are. That's Quinn going on around. Now Ponik, oh, it's going to be very tight. Ponik may hold him up. Ponik's flashing his lights. He's coming through. Outbreaks him down into the bus stop. And I don't think it held up Schindel at all. So, unfortunately, Kevin Binkley did not get a break there.
Yeah, Schindel selling, Mark, I'll let you in, but get in there in a hurry because Kevin Binkley's coming.
Binkley, one of the hot shoes last season in these GTLM cars. Doesn't seem quite as challenging this season. Hasn't been able to win as many races. Still been at least in the top 5 most races.
Well, he switched from the Corvette into the Aston Martin, and I don't know if that has a lot to do with it. He did it because the team he races for wants to race that car, so he was a team player and said, okay, but certainly has not had the success that he saw last season.
I remember him saying between some of the races that he was struggling getting used to the handling a little bit. So looks like he still, even after an entire season, hasn't totally gotten it down. Oh, in a moment with Sean Reese, he's actually sideways on the track that's in the Western Horseshoe. Looks like under braking into that corner, he just lost it for a little bit, but didn't hit anything, keeps going.
Guys, I'll tell you what, just in front of these drivers is Matt Quinn and Mark Ponik. We were just on him a few moments ago. Quinn, in 2 different sections, had very, very close moments. Almost getting in the back of a couple of GT3 drivers where just the timing wasn't quite right or got held up. It is still very close, as you see Ponik starting to close up a little bit here as they head towards the bus stop. Very close between these 2 drivers. It is for 2nd and 3rd overall and in prototype.
Ponik trying to get himself a good exit as we watch off the rear of Quinn. And he got a decent exit, but is it enough? The draft starting to reel him in. Now with only half a second between them, I don't think he's going to be able to be close enough to take a dive into turn 1, though. Meanwhile, we've got Quinn flashing his lights at Sheldon Rosenbaum ahead of him. Rosenbaum moves up to the outside, lets him through.
Bill, I'm looking at the lack of the gain there. I wonder if there's a bit of a wing difference between those 2 drivers. It looks like Ponik might be running a little bit more wing than Quinn.
Oh, I think look at us get caught up there behind.
That's one of our AM Championship contenders, Matt Owens, breathing a sigh of relief that car is through.
Well, those prototypes can slow down, can't they? Yeah, I've seen these guys before. I think Ponik's just feeling him out. I think he can get it done. I think he can get it done if he wants to, but he's got 40 minutes to go, and I think he knows he's not going to be able to drive away from Quinn even if he gets around him. So I think we'll see. I think we'll check back in at 1 hour and 29 minutes to see how this thing plays out.
Well, I'll tell you what, the thing that we need to check on is in 10 minutes, where is everybody pitting on the clock? Because that's going to determine how strategy will play out. If anybody can make it past that 1 hour mark, that we're going to see a lot of guys actually get to the end here. But the question is, can they get that far?
Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. I mean, we're just past the halfway mark right now of this final race of the season, and things are going to start coming into play to say what the championship is going to be. Right now, we've got eyes on Troy Schuster. He's on your screen right now. He is the championship leader, tied going in, but right now with the first spot, he's the guy.
And Girard is in his stall. He's in his stall right now.
That is much too early. Did he have an issue?
Let me go back and check. I feel like this is actually a strategy call.
He's not going to play the game of trying to stretch it. He's just going to try to push hard. Now, remember, he has to come back.
Yeah, I don't see him hit anything.
Yeah, he was in on lap 17 for his first stop, so here he is only 13 laps later. Maybe he figured, I can't do it in 2. I might as well come in now.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Yeah, maybe he just said, forget it. I'm not even going to try to stretch it. I'm just going to try to push hard the whole time.
And these guys, unlike the GT3 cars, I believe can take tires and fuel at the same time. So I'm wondering if he's thinking about the tires, have fresher ones for more of the race, split it up more evenly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're not going to stretch it, then forget it. Go ahead and split up evenly, like you say. Get that fresh rubber and try to cut the fastest laps possible.
I was talking to Dino Topic before the race, and he races in this class. He says if you need enough fuel, you can get the tires without it costing you any time at all. So maybe Kevin thought, I've burned up enough fuel, I can come and get new tires and just run the laps.
Anything, absolutely. Topic himself is in a battle right now. Not been the race he wanted as he tries to close in on Robert Jackman. He's got a good toe, but I think he's lifting. Yes, it looks like he's not challenging right now. He's just using that slipstream to save what he can.
Yeah, he could be racing the clock right now as much as he's racing Jackman.
So we watch 8th place and 9th place continue on. Now, where is Mark Koenig in reference to Quinn? Because those two have not been separated much for quite a while here. And still, he closes in that braking. I think you're right, Smitty, that there must be a difference in setup because he is so strong into those braking zones.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, actually to Bill's point there, with him being behind him in the draft, if Koenig can just kind of hang out here a little bit, it might help him on the fuel game. Maybe he can undercut him or change something up. Go an extra lap or go 1 lap early just to try to shake things up. It's definitely going to be between Matt Quinn and Mark Koenig for that second spot.
Meanwhile, Tim McLeish heads in for his stop out of 9th place.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see some of those guys that have definitively decided they're going to do 3 stops. They're going to go ahead and make things happen right around now.
Now I'm watching Kevin Binkley once again, who's closed down on Mark Schindel. Oh, and did Sean Reese have some trouble? Oh, and what is he doing? He's coming off of, oh, was that with our AM leader? On the replay, it looks like Matt Owens. Did he have net code with Jason Girard, though? No, he was just offline, it looks like. You're going to see just ahead. He self-spins. Oh, and he makes contact with Reese, just tipping him. And I believe those guys are teammates.
Yeah, guys, take a look at this thing. You're going to see him. It looks like he just gets a little bit spooked by Girard making a look. And he just goes a little bit wide, punches the throttle, and think right there, away around Reese goes.
Worst timing possible for Sean Reese. And actually, Reese has severe suspension damage because his car is just slowly galloping its way across the backstretch. He's trying to limp it home.
Yeah, that's definitely not a Corvette that's working the way it's supposed to right there. You can see now he's on the pavement. That's all bad.
And that was the lightest of touches. That's always frustrating when the car is hit ever so slightly wrong that even though you shouldn't be that damaged, it is.
Guys, as we approach our second set of stops for GT3s, I want to do a quick update before we start getting into a few other things. We got Darling well and gone, but John Paquin is now up to second. He's gotten his way around Booth. Booth is back to third, but Leif Peterson, the guy he's trying to beat, is up to fourth. Booth has gotten around, or excuse me, Peterson's gotten around Morrison. So now, the two guys we're looking for in the GT3 championship for third are now nose to tail, or I should say, next in line.
Remember, though, Paquin has to make his second stop still. His third time in the pits, even though he didn't stop the first time through.
That might make those guys be fighting for second and third. The big thing there, I think, is going to be the gap between Booth and Peterson. I'll keep an eye on that. Bill, I think you might have an update in GTLM.
Yeah, in fact, well, I did, but this is interesting. Here comes Mark Schindel coming into the pits. He was in a battle with Binkley for third position, the final podium spot in that class, but Schindel's coming in really early at the 34-minute mark. That's too early, I think.
And Dino Topic also is in. You saw him go by. So these guys are definitely too early to make it on two stops, although we figured Dino wouldn't be able to with his early problems as he exits now. Going to be in 10th now.
And guys, I have Ross Booth in the pits right now. Ross Booth in the pits from third in GT3.
That's a very early stop.
But we did see those guys stretch it out pretty long. Remember, the BMWs did pretty well, so maybe this is the very beginning of the window for GT3.
Maybe looking to leapfrog?
I don't know. Morrison also in, while not in that front hunt. That's the second driver in GT3 coming in. I believe these are scheduled stops, guys.
Oh, and Jim McInnes has a big problem. This is into turn one in a bad spot. Car comes around just in front of our overall leader, almost takes out John Ulmer. You're going to see it as the rear of the car around the apex of one just does not want to grip.
You know, I've seen that before. When you're that far down on the apron early, you carry just a little bit too much speed. You're not able to get it wound up enough, and that back end just wants to rotate on it. Nice job by Ulmer here to not get involved.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was looking at Ulmer's nose, and I don't see any damage on it. Oh, actually, that was the replay. Let's see here. No, I think he avoided him. Yeah, no contact.
Yeah, no contact, but definitely probably a new pair of shorts is going to be the next pit stop for Ulmer.
So,
and guys, if we can follow up, we talked about that Quinn and Ponick battle. Remember where Quinn was out in front and Ponick was behind him the whole time? Well, guess which car had to come into the pits first? It was Quinn, the guy who was breaking all the breaking the win for Ponick. Ponick's out there still running another lap.
Someone should tell him it's rude to break wind in front of Ponick.
I was trying to think of a different way to phrase it.
Ponick is he coming in now? Actually, no.
Well, he's getting held up currently.
Oh, he's on the backstretch. Excuse me. Looks very similar in some ways to the lead up to the pits. Works his way through.
He got held up a little bit there before he got to bus stop. Now I wonder if he's going to come in now and try to make things happen. I would think with his wing situation set up, he's not going to want to hang out by himself too long.
And guys, Ulmer, as we watch Ponick head in, Ulmer is in as well. There's still 31 minutes. I don't think these guys are going to be able to make it. I think it's going to be extremely close.
I don't think that Ulmer got to the 1 hour mark before. I think you're right. I think this is going to be a little bit shy. Some possible splashing goes for Proto.
And that's where I want to bring up these names again of Paul Slavonic and Kevin Santana, who went well past the 30-minute mark last time.
Slavonic is still out.
Running a minute back, though. You can be slow, but you have to make sure you're fast enough to win the race.
This is true. Slavonic, does he stay out?
Exactly, just fast enough where it equates to not having to make that extra trip down pit road. Getting awfully close here. You can get inside that mark. You can get inside that 30-minute mark.
He's staying out for one more lap. However, as Bill pointed out, the gap between Slavonic and Ulmer is about 25 seconds now.
We don't need to go to it, but just a quick update. Paul Darling, your GT3 leader in the pits.
So it looks like Darling should be able to make it to the end. Just gonna emerge just past that 30-minute mark. Sounds like a problem with Mark Wilson. He's saying about some sort of error. Oh, and it looks like, oh, did he have some contact with Dino Topic potentially? Oh, very slight if he did. I don't think it even would have registered on his screen. He was trying to put a lap on David Tejada. Things just got a little bit tight for those guys, so I think no harm, no foul. Less than 30 minutes left in the season now. The final round under the lights here at Daytona in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. I'm keeping an eye on Slavonic as the screen shows John Ulmer, our overall leader, and Slavonic goes one more lap. Slavonic is going way long here.
Oh, this could get interesting as we get down to the last 5 or so minutes of this race.
And we don't know if he is slow because he's saving or if this is his outright pace either.
No, I think it's his pace. The problem is, assuming now he's going to make his pit stop, Ulmer and the guys ahead of him all have one more pit stop to go. So even though he's going to do it on 2, he doesn't have the pace to get ahead of these guys. Because he'll have this full pit stop to make. The other guys will only have a splash and go. But the guy you can keep an eye on is Tinsey. Tinsey now is running a second. Remember, he made that early stop on lap 7. In theory, he's going to come in, he's going to need to make one more stop, and so is everyone else, we assume. So basically, he's running right behind Ulmer right now, only about 4 seconds back, assuming Ulmer has to make one more stop as well.
Yes, but Tinsey's will need to be a longer stop.
A little longer, right.
Yeah, I'm assuming that he is going to have to stop any second now, since you said it was on lap 7, maybe get to about 25 minutes left. So Paquin emerges from his pit stall. I'm assuming he got it right the first try this time. Sklenka has also been in his stall, although I think that might be an unscheduled stop. I think, nope. Sklenka's is scheduled. Now, where is Paquin in terms of Darling? And actually, he's coming out ahead of Darling. This is for the lead.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be any issue with making it to the end here. You make your stop here, you're good to go for the end. Now, if that seems like a surprise to some, I mean, it was just to put out the fact that Paquin's been the fastest guy on track. He has been the absolute fastest GT3 driver. Darling has been the leader and hanging out by himself the whole time, but it has been Paquin is the fastest guy in practice and then and now here in the race. So not a huge surprise if he is out front.
Well, what's so astonishing, though, is that, remember, Paquin basically did what amounts to a drive-through penalty, even though it wasn't a penalty, and still has overtaken him.
Maybe some tires from Darling. Maybe he took a long stop. I'll see if I can take a look at the stop difference.
That could be what made the difference as we watch Paquin currently... Actually, Paquin's showing in 4th, so I'm thinking we have some guys who have yet to pit in the GT3 class. But effectively, he should be the leader once everyone stops. Off screen, McInnes has headed into his pit stall. Now, whoa! And big moment there between Paquin and who was that he was fighting with there? That was David Henry, and that was for position, although Henry has yet to make his second stop. That's a risky move for a guy you're fighting off sequence.
Well, and David Henry's not trying to see anything like that happen. He's trying to beat Matt Owens for that AM championship in GT3. The last thing he needs to happen. Just to get back to on those the potential differences between those drivers, 10 seconds difference between Paquin and Darling. Darling stopped about 10 seconds longer or more. I'm thinking Darling took tires at the end here because he had such a big lead. I'd be curious to see if Darling can reel in. I got a feeling Paquin did not take tires here at the end. As Lee Peterson just came on the radio, he's coming in this time.
Now, we missed it, but Slavonic did have his stop last lap. He is currently out on the track, and Let's see. Slavonic is actually about, a minute and 6 behind John Ulmer. So I don't think this strategy is going to work out for him. Meanwhile,
Kevin Santana also on the same strategy as Slavonic.
Meanwhile, Patrick Fleming's day went from bad to worse as I believe he's going to get a cut course for coming into the bus stop at an unusual angle. In fact, he's about to be overtaken here by Brett Trocine, and they've got actually that battle for P2, and the prototype squeezing through, almost went 3 wide there.
I'll tell you what, it seems like no amount of traffic or no amount of pit stops is going to separate Quinn and Ponick here. These guys are attached at the hip.
Now keep in mind that has been a battle for what Joe said for P2, but really not, because Robert Tinsey is still out there running in second place right now. But he has one more stop to make.
Yes, you're right. So effectively P2,
stop.
but not currently P2.
Right.
I'm looking at the time and scoring there. It looks like he's got about a 15-second advantage over Matt Quinn. I don't think that's going to be enough to hold on to it, is it?
No, he definitely won't be able to come in and get gas that quickly.
I would not count Tinsey out, though. He's out there running with these guys. These guys are on new rubber, and he's holding pace with them right now.
Tinsey's recent laps, 134.3, 35.6, 35.5, 34.5. Meanwhile, John Ulmer's laps, 35.5, 35.1, 35.1. Very consistent there from Ulmer. We know Ulmer likes this track, though, and he showed it in qualifying. So I don't know that Tinsey will be potentially running him down, especially when Ulmer doesn't have to push hard through traffic, although he's working through a lot of it quite right now. Paul Lindsay and Kevin O'Keefe getting out of the way. Actually, this is a battle for position that we're seeing on screen. 15th and 16th. Oh, there's a lap between them, unfortunately. So it's a battle for position, but not. Oh, and O'Keefe, did he have help there?
There was another prototype there involved for sure.
Let's see, I'm trying to see. Oh, it looks like, watching it from above, we're going to see that Kevin O'Keefe starts to lose it. And I think John O'Day just did not expect him to start to drift in front of him like that. And O'Day thought that he might have potentially been at fault, but Kevin O'Keefe letting him know that it was his. John O'Day, I think, got away lucky. I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage on the front of that car.
Yeah, we're going to Quinn and Ponick. They are really frustrating me because not so much Quinn, but Ponick just keeps me having to check in on him all the time, and he just doesn't make the pass.
It's like the girl that keeps saying maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Come on.
Meanwhile, David Henry, remember, he was fighting for that. Oh, and actually, we need to even replay on David Henry. He had a huge moment down into turn 1. He found the tires, and what in the world? No, he didn't find the tires. What did he hit? I am confused. Someone laid a landmine out in the middle of the runoff, apparently.
That is terribly unfortunate for him. I mean, I don't know what happened there, but what's so bad about that, guys, is he was running, I believe, 7th at the time, and the guy he was trying to beat for the championship, Matt Owens, is running 9th. He possibly had that thing, and it's all gone up in the air.
In fact, I'm trying to see if Owens has overtaken him yet. As we watch on board. Let's watch this one more time. This is one of the stranger accidents I've ever seen.
Joe, have you ever seen that Jackie Chan meme where he's going like, "What?" Yeah, that's that right there.
Yeah, very much so. Well, he's lucky that he landed on the tires at least. could have had to have taken a tow and cost him even more time.
Yeah, he just jumped on the radio. He goes, "Lag monster just ate me." That's too bad for Henry. He definitely had a shot at that AM championship. I think that's going to end his hopes right there.
Oh, very sad to see.
So you can see on screen Matt Owens. Good looking car there with the bright yellow. You can definitely spot him from a mile away. Looks like things are going pretty well for him for that AM championship. Currently running 9th.
Now, he hasn't overtaken Henry yet. I think he might this lap by. Meanwhile, I see elsewhere David Tejada had a off, and that was coming out of 6 as Owens comes in for his stop. And this is scheduled. This will be Owens' second, and he should be good to go to the end.
Back to the prototypes room. I'm sorry, Joe, to interrupt there.
I was just going to say that you might be talking about Tinsey coming in.
Yeah. Here's the interval now. It's 37 seconds. Tinsey's done. He can go the distance. We don't think that Ulmer, Quinn, and Ponick can. But if they can, it's only going to be a splash and go. So I don't know if 37 seconds is enough time for Ulmer to get in and out.
I believe that's right on the cusp, because remember we saw Slavonic gain about 30 seconds with a full stop. So a splash and dash should be close, but I think still a comfortable gap for Ulmer.
I would definitely think that Tinsey only 17 seconds back of that little dance team of Quinn and Ponick. They would be in trouble for those guys will probably be fighting for a podium spot, and I would imagine Tinsey will jump.
Actually, that's a good question. Where did Quinn and Ponick pit? Did they go long enough to make it without a splash and dash too?
Maybe a lap farther than Ulmer, but still I think before the 30-minute mark.
So unless those guys are saving fuel, which the way they've been fighting, I doubt it.
This could come down, Spinny, this could come down to one of those times where if the leader can time it right, where he doesn't have to go that extra lap.
Oh, it could. That could throw everything up in the air. I was going to say that, Ponick, they've been fighting, but he's been behind the entire time. I mean, maybe he's gotten a chance to save a little bit on Quinn.
Well, I would like to quote Scott Goodyear if they're counting on the leader to come across the line at just the right time, and that is luck is a bad strategy. So, with only 4/10 still separating these two, it's up in the air, not just who is going to finish in second and third, but not just whether it's Quinn and Ponick, if Tinsey is going to get in the mix. "17 minutes left to go now." Let's go through our order real quick before things get really chaotic in the last 10 minutes, I'm assuming. John Ulmer is still your overall leader. He's got a 21-second lead over Matt Quinn, who is still trying to fight off Mark Ponick, has not been able to get away from him, not just this race, but the whole season. Robert Tinsey has made his final stop, 38 seconds back from the leader. He is in 4th, and then a whole minute and 11 back from our leader, rounding out the top 5. Bill, we've got Paul Slavonic.
Troy Schuster's been out in front the whole way. Billy Smith has been stalking him like an angry lover, not happy about the prefix, about 2 seconds back, but not able to get anything up there. An angry ex-lover, I meant to say. That makes more sense. Jason Girard running in 3rd position all by himself. Then we go back to Mark Schindel, and about 5 seconds back to Kevin Baker. Smitty?
Well, in the GT3s, it's definitely been an interesting race, kind of up and down the entire time. Right now, your leader is John Paquin. Not that far back as Paul Darling, but Paquin has been putting in the laps. He's been a little bit quicker. Paquin's got the advantage over Darling. 3rd place, Ross Booth, leader of the BMWs. Behind him is Jim McInnes, also in a BMW in 4th place right now, a little bit further back. And then Leighton Peterson, running at your top 5 in GT3. Remember, Peterson and Booth, who we were looking for that possible podium challenge.
There we watch Peterson raking his way down into the bus stop, one of the most challenging spots on this track. quite a bit of damage on the left side of that roof, unfortunately. Has not been through this race without going into the wars.
Hey guys, something we haven't talked about too much here, but I want to hint on. I think there could be some points issues here for Proto with Ulmer out front. I think he might have a shot at pulling off a top 3 overall over Ponick.
Yeah, I believe it was about 6 points between himself and Ponick.
Yeah, and especially if you take into account Tinsey is probably going to jump those guys. That would make that battle between Ponick and Quinn, that final podium spot, could be really important.
Well, guys, yeah, and this is what it shakes down. You got a bonus point to Ulmer for getting the pole. That's 1 point.
Ooh, yeah.
He wins. It's 35. Ponick is third. That's 30. Well, that's a tie. Ulmer would get that tiebreaker with getting more wins than Ponick.
There you go.
So Ponick has got to get around Quinn for second if he wants to hold on to that top 3 in the standings.
And does he have anyone in his ear, or has he done the math to know this situation? That's the big question as well.
Never mind any kind of wrinkles that Tinsey could possibly bring into the mix. But again, we talked about it. I don't know if he's going to be there in 15 minutes.
It gets closer and closer to the time that we expect some drivers to have to come in, take that little bit of fuel, and make it to the checkered. I see a bunch of cars off. Billy Smith, Paul Darling, and Brett Trocine. They're all 3 separate incidents at once.
Billy Smith, boy, he hit the brakes like he brake tricked Troy Schuster. Don't know what that was about.
Yeah, it was on the exit of the corner there. You saw the lights come on that Corvette.
And actually, it was because Troy Schuster had problems. We need to go and watch Troy Schuster. There you can see, did he get hit? Watching that replay one more time, and that was Billy Smith that ran into him. Now, was Smith trying to let him through? What happened there?
Schuster spun ahead of these guys. Schuster spun and looped the car. Billy Smith came around and clipped him, banged him. Then I think Billy Smith maybe trying to give the spot back, maybe.
That's what I was wondering, but how bizarre. That's a weird place to give it back.
Now, where is Gerard with all this?
So 2 clouts on Schuster, and we don't know how much damage he has, how much this is going to slow him down. Gerard, I'm looking through to see if I can find him. I don't see him anywhere near, actually. He is well behind, almost half a track behind.
Schuster's in the pits.
Oh, my.
Schuster in the pits, and remember, it is Gerard that needs to get around him. Gerard just out of the bus stop now. This is championship implications.
Does Schuster, I think he got a spare car. Yeah, Schuster just took his free repair. So that's what's going on. I think he knew he couldn't make it on fuel anyways. He's going to get a clean car now. Here comes Jason Gerard. When did Jason Gerard pit? Was it past the 30-minute mark? Because we don't know if Gerard has to make a 3rd stop.
He pit on
Billy Smith.
42.
Oh,
Billy
and
Smith came in.
Gerard almost loses it through turn 1, manages to hold on to it, but nearly spins it. And look at how close it is as they come out. And the championship comes alive.
Yeah, and Gerard pit on lap 40, at the end of lap 41, the beginning of 42 is when he pit last. I think that makes it okay for him to make it the distance.
So does Gerard have to fuel save to get to the end, though? How close was it?
Well, Smith pit on lap 35, and if we think that Smith can make it, then I think Gerard can.
Yeah, well, Billy Smith just came in, though. He just stopped in the pits as well. He got a new car along with Schuster.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, both him and Schuster both pit on 35. Oh, it's going to be real close.
This got very interesting. I thought Schuster had this wrapped up. Now we're down.
They're all in that short chute there from bus stop back to when they come on the banking. They're all in the same grouping there with no draft help for Gerard.
So they can see him up ahead. The carrot is dangling. And guys, we're down to the final 10 minutes. We need to keep an eye on drivers like Ulmer and Tinsey, Quinn and Ponik.
Last time by, Ponik and Quinn were only 0.3 of a second, less than 0.3 of a second apart.
And
so that's another fight up in the air. Remember, that's for third place in the championship versus Ulmer.
And guys, Schuster's trying to overtake Billy Smith. He manages to go around the outside into turn 1, moves himself into P2.
Well, he knows he's got to go, right? Schuster has to get up there and take the fight. You just saw him go by on the screen there. And that car on screen right now, that is Schuster. That blue car, 2 cars in front, just went by on your screen. That's the guy he's trying to catch. It is go time right now for Schuster. The championship coming down the last 10 minutes of this championship season.
Wow. So, Gerard's going to get lucky. He had Chance Kelly behind him, but Kelly's going to wait until the high banks to try and get by. In fact, they're going to work their way past the GT3 car of Ross Booth. Tim McLeish comes in for his 3rd stop. So there's one of our prototype cars not able to make it. And that battle is not over for P2. Smith around the outside. It's hard to go too wide in the bus stop. Schuster comes out the victor on the entry. What about the exit?
See you later.
Beautiful move. That could be critical.
Yeah, Schuster needs to get away. He does not need any kind of fighting with Smith right now. For sure, he needs to pull away so he can start putting down the laps and get up there. 8.5 to play at the line.
Schuster's gaining. Schuster's gaining on him, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get there fast enough.
I suspect that Gerard is in fuel-saving mode then. Because we know Gerard can be fairly fast. There you see the gap as we switch from Gerard to Schuster, who still has Billy Smith on him. And remember, Smith has no fight in this championship. All he cares about is finishing as high as he can in this last round.
Yeah, exactly. Smith's going for bragging rights. He's trying to get up to P4 just off the podium. So it's definitely all Schuster and Gerard for the hardware, if you will.
Exiting back onto the banking. There we see our leader in the GTLMs as he's overtaken by Tinsey. Tinsey is still about 45 seconds back from Ulmer.
Yeah, there was 37 when Tinsey came out of the pits. He's Ulmer been able to put about 6 more seconds on it. But Ulmer is gaining on Quinn and Ponik.
There we see Ulmer on screen.
Again, I'm assuming that those guys all have to come in. Ulmer, Quinn, and Ponik all have to make one more splash and go.
It seems likely, at least for Ulmer. We know that it is very likely that he has to go in. Quinn and Ponik have been battling quite a bit. I don't think they've been saving fuel. They're still separated by about a second. You can see on screen the gap between Quinn's red machine and the blue car of Mark Ponik.
Remember, Ponik was able to go an extra lap when Quinn came in. Ponik's been back there the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know what Ponik's waiting for. If he's got a little something, bro, it's got to go right now. You can't be waiting around. You're going to have some traffic coming up here. Ponik's best shot could come up now.
And I don't know if we've covered this yet, Smitty, but David Henry has manually disconnected. That is our GT3 AM title.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, Henry had those issues earlier where he ended up doing the little up and over with that net code. That was pretty much going to call it good for Henry. So it seems like the AM championship going to go to Matt Owens, who you see on screen right now. Congratulations to him. He can bring it home.
6 minutes to go now. Any of them have a crew chief. Nails are being bitten, I'm sure.
Guys, I've been keeping an eye on the lap times here for our GTLM drivers, and Gerard on screen right now, he was actually 1/10 quicker than Schuster the last time by. Schuster has Smith right behind him, who hasn't given him a whole lot of trouble, this next time at the line will be telling. But here comes Smith. I see Smith has got a bit of a run. Smith could make things happen. They are now side by side. Exactly what Schuster does not want to see. He's going for the championship. Smitty, what are you doing out there, brother?
Oh, up to the outside for Billy Smith. Starts to stall out as they come around the tri-oval, down into the braking of one. Smith regains some ground, but backs out of it into the corner.
Well, good news for Schuster is that Gerard's actually held up by traffic as they go towards the International Horseshoe right now. He's got GT3s in front of him. He's got Vet in front of him. A little bit of time loss for Gerard, but he was a half a second faster last time by. If he's saving fuel, I'm not sure how, because the right foot is down.
And guys, Kevin Binkley behind them in fourth. He comes in to his pit stall with 5 left to go. We had a bit of contact between Hudson and McLeish, actually. I'm not sure if that's what you were about to call.
No, I was just going to mention that Ulmer has gone around again with 4 minutes to go.
So if he thinks he can make it, he's starting to be committed. We'll know when he gets to 1 lap to go and he doesn't come in. It's all or nothing. And Quinn is in. Matt Quinn heads into his pit stall with 4 minutes left. Ponick continues on.
Oh man, this is it. Could Ponick hold on to it?
Yeah.
He's been hanging out behind him the whole time. He better be coasting the rest of these couple of minutes.
And if Omer has to come in, if Omer has to come in and Ponick can take the win, what a celebration it is it going to be in his camp?
Yeah, because that is for third in the championship. If Ponick can hold on, it is third for him. It's the win for Ulmer if he holds on in the race, but in the championship, third to Ponick if he can do it.
Ponick went a lap longer that last stint. If he can do another extra lap this one, that might be enough.
All right, I believe we should have 2 laps to go this time by for Ulmer.
As we're obviously keeping an eye on Ulmer, we're keeping an eye on Ponick.
And Ulmer's
I'm keeping an eye on Gerard right now too. Ulmer in. Let's see if he comes back, how far he comes back. I'm also keeping an eye on Gerard right now. Gerard lost over a second last by.
And Tinsey now.
Oh, wait, no, Ponick is not staying out.
Tinsey has just come out onto the oval.
Billy Smith off track. Oh, and he almost takes out David Tejada trying to return to the track. And I think this is driver error coming off the corner. Overcorrects.
Yeah, you see it just, back end just barely comes out, overcorrection into the grass, touches the wall. Woof, close call on re-entry.
Okay, Ulmer is out ahead of Tinsey. Ponick is in.
Pretty huge between Ulmer and Tinsey.
So with Ulmer coming out there, and that's going to give us white flag next time by. These guys got 2 laps to go here. Or a lap and a half.
Here comes championship points now as Quinn is coming around. And Ponick is coming out. Quinn's going to get by Ponick by a bunch.
And in fact, I think Ponick lost a lot of ground there. Oh, did Ponick actually touch the wall? Yes, he did. I think he scraped the wall coming out. No, he didn't scrape it. He clouded it. Oh, this is what I was talking about in the pre-race. You got to practice this. Oof.
I'll tell you what, Canada's got its wall champions, and that's about the wall champions here for Daytona. Seen a lot of big names do that. Unfortunately, Ponick just added his name to the list.
Going to be white flag this time by. Tinsey is 32 seconds behind Ulmer.
Billy Smith is slow on the oval.
Good news for Schuster, but not good enough because he is still 6 seconds behind Gerard.
I think Billy Smith is out of fuel.
We got to watch that GTLM finish because that is for all the marbles. There's Gerard with his 6-second lead. And in the distance, you can see Schuster trying to run him down. We still don't know if Gerard has enough fuel to get to the end. He's got one more lap to go.
It's not exactly been smooth sailing for Gerard. Remember, he had those issues early. Had to make that stop. This is going to be big for him. He's earned this thing regardless of where this thing ends up.
And remember, there was that incident with Schuster in the International Horseshoe. That was 6 seconds probably right there. These guys would have been nose to tail had it not been for that incident probably.
It looks to me like Schuster's really slow.
Wait, we have to go to John Ulmer because he is coming to the line. White flag has flown. Oh, excuse me. Oh, we got to go to Schuster. Sorry.
I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but I saw Schuster coming out of NASCAR 4 very slow. He's got to be out of fuel, guys. He's got to be saving fuel.
Oh, I think this is it for Schuster then. That is the championship. But for Ulmer, it looks like P3 is going to go to him. It could still change. But Ulmer comes across the line to take the checkered flag and win his 3rd race of the season. Let's see who's next to win. Paquin's leading in GT3.
Exactly. I was going to say Paquin going into the bus stop right now. I believe Gerard's a bit behind him.
You are correct. So Paquin going to be our next winner. Comes back for a celebrity visit. And it looks like he is going to take home the champagne and the trophy for today. Boy, what a recovery drive from John Paquin. Despite having to go through the pits in extra time, starting from the back of the field, John Paquin is going to take our win in the GT3 class.
And guys, right behind him, you do have Gerard. He's on the apron now, going to the start-finish line. Jason Gerard's going to take the win and the GTLM championship.
Wow. Who saw that coming halfway through this race? Gerard coming through in a pinch and finally taking the crown, redeeming himself from missing races last year. I'm sure there is all kinds of shouting happening in that cockpit. And there we see Troy Schuster going to finish 2nd. Looks like he's just going to make it to the line. Or is he? He's still... Yes, he is. He's coming to the line now. Disappointment for Troy Schuster. 1st and 2nd. You could... As he... runs himself into the barrier at the end there. All right, well, I believe that's most of the battles done out there. Trying to see if we have anybody still fighting for position. I think that should be it, unless Brett Trocine is still actually in that battle with Christopher Sherburne.
Guys, I think we might have missed it, but I think Peterson got Booth at the end to take off that spot. I think Peterson just got Booth for the 3rd place in championship.
Was that?
I'm not sure if we can get it.
Yeah, let's get a replay, because that happened at the very end. With Booth and Peterson swapping positions on the oval maybe about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, if we can get it, it was the final lap for these guys. Just coming onto the oval is where it starts. From just coming on the oval all the way down to the finish line. This is for 3rd in the championship. Peterson, you're looking at it right now. This is Peterson.
Oh my goodness.
He's trying to get on Booth. Now he's been working it back. Look at it, get a run coming off, and he's right on him. Unbelievable. Look at this huge run. I got a feeling Booth had to have been saving some fuel or something. Or I don't know how, but...
Oh, and they actually made contact. Watch this onto the backstretch here.
I think Booth ran out of fuel. Booth sputtered across the start-finish line. He actually ran out of fuel, maybe.
He almost had it. You'll see here, actually, as Peterson nearly cut the chicane.
And guys, right here, what we're seeing is this last, 3rd of a lap, a little bit of contact there. This is for the entire season, and it comes down to this for 3rd place in the championship.
The last lap of the last race. Oh, I'm sure Ross Booth is ruining his fuel call. That has got to be crushing.
Missed it by that much, you guys. If he had the fuel, he might have had that tow. Wow, unbelievable.
A tenth or two of a gallon.
He had the
probably
run
would have
on
done
him.
it.
Had the run, the momentum, and just ran out of petrol.
All right. Well, as we come back to live and all the cars have pretty much got off track, let's go to break. We're going to have the unofficial results as well as, I'm sure, some very interesting driver interviews. Don't go away, though, because on screen, we're going to have the upcoming races in our broadcast. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, location of the final round of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. And boy, if that race left your head spinning, you're not the only one. There's a lot to keep track of, so many twists and turns in the championship fights that were left to decide. In the end, John Ulmer took home the win, even though he couldn't claim the overall championship, but it bumped him up into third, we believe, in the championship provisionally. That is unofficial. Robert Tinsley came home with a second place, a good recovery drive, but still about 35 seconds back after he ran into trouble earlier on. Matt Quinn, he rounded out the podium and was just ahead of Ponick, who unfortunately slipped off the championship podium, with him not able to stay up in second place. Kevin Santana comes home in fifth with Paul Slavonic in sixth. Remember, Slavonic went very long on his pits, but unfortunately still didn't come home with as good a finish as he probably would have hoped. Mark Wilson came home in seventh with Tim McLeish in eighth. Then it's Chance Kelly in ninth, and rounding out the top 10, and conveniently our prototype class, was John O'Day. Bill?
I like when the drivers cooperate and do that for us. Let's go to the GT Le Mans class. Never say die. Jason Girard kept it out there, and it all fell in his right for him there as he takes the win today and the championship in the class. Troy Schuster, tough break for him, a self-induced spin, going to cost him. Mark Schindel picks up third place in the class. Kevin Binkley behind him. Billy Smith had his trouble. Going to finish 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth in class, followed by Dave Hill, Robert Jackman. Then we get to David Tejeda in a prototype. Dino Topic back there in 19th, and rounding out the top 20. Oh, look who it is, Brandon Postma.
After that, you got Sheldon Woloshin in the GTLM driver in 21st. Then John Paquin decided to come out to have some fun at Daytona. Brought it home with the W there in GT3. Second place in class and 23rd overall, our GT3 champion, Paul Darling. Leif Peterson with that dramatic pass at the end, 24th overall. We believe that's going to get him third in championship for GT3. And once again, 24th overall, third in class is Peterson. Followed by Ross Booth, Jim McInnes, Robbie Morrison, Sean Reese, Chase Hudson, and Ryan Bird, your top 30. Joe?
Matt Owens finished in 31st. Unfortunately, was not able to take third in the championship. Christopher Sherburne was 32nd. Brett Trocine in 33rd. Robert Sklenka, he came home 34th. Then you've got Paul Lindsay in 35th and Patrick Fleming in 36th. David Henry had an early exit with one of the more bizarre accidents we've ever seen. He finished in 37th. Kevin O'Keefe did not have a good day. He was 38th overall. Sheldon Rosenbaum was 39th. Jeffrey Price in the prototypes, he finished in 40th overall. Robert Beerus 41st, and Darren Kuhn 42nd. Mark Yesdal did not start. Same thing with Kuhn and Beerus. They were all at the tail end of the field because they did not take the green flag. So let's talk to our overall winner of the race and third place finisher into the championship, John Ulmer. Pull him into the booth and get him mic'd up. Talk to him about what is probably about as redeeming as a finish to the season as he could ask for. Ulmer, you said all season long you're strong in these American tracks, and boy, a win at Road Atlanta and back-to-back here at Daytona. Nicely done.
Thank you. That's kind of scary there for a little bit, but having Bill back gave me the inspiration to keep that cheese firm.
All right, it certainly stayed firm and stayed on the pizza here at the end. Now, it looked like a lot of guys were going to have to make a 3-stop race out of this for the prototypes. Did you know from the start that you were headed for a 3-stopper, or were you going to try and stretch it all the way on 2?
I knew full throttle you can't make it. We've already been through that before here. And so I was running a really, really conservative middle run there, trying to stretch it, but I was still going to come up about a half a lap short. So I went ahead and just went in and pitted, got some fuel. But yeah, it's tough. The HPD revs out just for so long, and for some reason when this car gets over 9,300 RPMs, it just drinks the fuel by the gallon.
Now, typically, you're in a bit of a reverse situation with you chasing Tinsley and having to push through traffic while Tinsley can kind of take his time. This time, it seemed like you were able to kind of take your time with the traffic. How did you feel about the lapped cars? Because we saw a surprising amount of interclass incidents this race.
I didn't have much problems with them. There were some moments. There was one moment, but it was equally my fault, probably more my fault. And I was trying to come in, and I think I went in a little bit slower than what he thought, and back end kind of wiggled, and all I could see was cheese splattered across the tire wall, so had to slow down. But I couple times guys change lanes, but like I've said before, there's thousands of passes happening in here. It's just going to happen. You just can't avoid that thing, especially a track like this where you're going so fast for so long.
Well, we're sorry to keep the interviews short, but unfortunately we got a lot of people we want to talk to with championships being decided. Congratulations on the win. And real quick before we let you go, can you give us a plug for next season? We understand it's starting in the end of May.
Yes, May 23rd we'll kick off season 4. I want to thank the league for putting in the effort to help this thing grow this season. We lost some people, we gained some people, but overall the league is getting healthier every day, and that's what we're striving for. And season 4 is going to be better because we can start off with even more teams this season since the grid expansions. So season 4 is going to be one to watch. We have some guys returning, and I'll let one of them tell you if he wants to in his interview. But we have guys coming back to the HPD field that's going to make it competitive. There's guys moving to GT3 that are going to be really strong there, and it's going to be really interesting. There's some new guys coming in that are going to be fast. So season 4 is going to be one to watch.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to that battle getting even more intense in the prototypes. That's John Ulmer, our winner today in the prototype class. Next up, we have our winner in the GTLM and champion in GTLM, Jason Girard. He is going to be talking to Bill Zahn about a crazy season.
Jason, it was exciting all season, and it was exciting the whole race. I guess never give up, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just found out from Troy what happened, and I can't even imagine how he's feeling about it. I mean, one minute I'm drowning in self-pity, and the next thing I know, both of them come out of the pits and I'm in front of them. I'm like, what just happened here?
You had a little trouble early on. What happened on the first lap?
I got a course cut penalty at the bus stop. I cut it just a little too much and had to give back a second and a half, which I didn't gain a second and a half cutting it. I barely cut it, but that's iRacing for you.
Sometimes you get those early. They haven't maybe figured out what's going on. Yeah, it seemed like it cost you a ton of time that you could never make up until the very end.
Yeah, the Corvettes, even lapped Corvettes for me was a challenge. There were several lap Corvettes that I was trying to pass on the oval, and I just couldn't keep up with them. I needed the draft just to pass them, and even then I still needed some help from some of the vets still let me buy them. It was they just got a lot of horsepower there, and like I said, I saw both Billy and Troy motor off in the distance, and I was striving about as hard as I could because I knew it was either win that race or go home, go for next season. But I don't know what happened, and like I said, I'll have to look at the replay. But I'm happy I won. But for Troy, he's got to be gutted right now. I can't imagine how he's feeling right now.
Well, if it's any consolation, I don't know if this makes it easier for Troy or worse. It was his own doing. It's not like he got collected in somebody else's mistake. I think it was driver error that got him. Was fuel an issue at the end, or were you comfortable on that?
No, I spent at least about an hour and a half checking my math to make sure that I had enough fuel to go all the way through, and pretty much everything worked to clockwork. I was hoping to short fill on my 3 pit stops so that I could at least try to counter some of the disadvantage on top speed that I had, but even short filling it still wasn't enough. But yeah, pretty much everything worked on fuel.
Well, congratulations on the win tonight, and even more so, congratulations on an exciting point race the entire time. You didn't know who was going to have it. You guys were close the whole way. Decided at the very last couple laps of the last race of the season. Jason Girard, good job, buddy.
Yeah, it was a great season, and I'd like to thank Troy. He raced me really hard this season and made me work for every single win, every single second place. It was an honor to race him.
There you have it. Thank you, Jason. See you next season. Jason Girard, your winner today and your class champion. Joe?
Next up, we are going to have our winner in the GT3 class. We haven't talked to him in a long time. We used to talk to him a whole lot. John Paquin, and he is going to have a conversation with Smitty about how this race went and how his win came about.
Hey, John, it's good to see you out here again. And on the top step, no big surprise for those people that know what you usually are capable of doing. But were you, a little taken aback? You came from the back. had to work your way all the way to the front, and then you had a little fun in the pit stop. Tell us a little bit about your whole race.
You saw that, huh? Yeah, that made it interesting. I'm at the risk of sounding pretentious. I'm used to being at the front of the pits, and at that stop, I was the last stall because I started last on purpose, and I just blew right through. So I put myself down real quick early on that way.
Yeah, we saw that. And actually, it was Joe Peak that pointed out that, he's probably used to not having to stall that quick, and we saw it too. You totally blew right past it, but, buckled down, made things happen. Did you think you were going to be able to work your way all the way back up and actually challenge for the win?
Yeah, I did. I had good pace, and I had already tested a pretty good strategy. I intentionally had a setup that was very, very loose, and I never replaced front tires during that race. I let the front tires wear. I replaced backs, cut my tires, pit stop time in half both times, and that was where my car was most balanced with old fronts and new rears. So now I had it all worked out. It worked out good.
John, like I said, we're not surprised to see you at the sharp end. We know you can get around the joint. We can get around every track that we go to pretty quick. You're going to see it at season 4 of this thing?
I believe I am going to try to rejoin season 4, yes.
That's great to hear. Well, before I let you go, anybody you want to throw out at or anything you want to say before we get on to the next guy?
Yeah, I got to thank you guys at GSRC. You do great with these broadcasts. And Autobahn Motorcar Group, John doesn't get enough credit for putting this thing on. And his outfit. And I got to say a shout out to my father. He went to an honor flight yesterday in Washington D.C. He's a Korean Marine vet, and he was very, very well honored yesterday. And he's watching right now, I know. So I wanted to say love you, Dad, and hope you enjoyed it.
Well, good on you, Joe. Appreciate those shout outs, and yeah, good on your dad to watch the broadcast.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
Joe. I think you might be catching up with Santana, our possible next interview.
Yes, we understand, and I feel bad that we didn't announce it as we ran through the order. Santana unofficially has won the AM championship in the prototype. So let's bring Kevin in, see if he was aware of that and how he felt about his race. Kevin, from our calculations, you have won the AM championship. Were you aware?
I pretty much knew as long as I finished in front of Mark and Tim. There was only a 4-point spread between us.
Absolutely, and it seemed like it was extremely tight the whole way between all three of you throughout the season. How did you feel about fighting with them for that AM championship? Was there a lot of camaraderie between you guys for what some would consider the lower tier, but I'm sure is very hard fought between you three?
It was fun. I mean, I've talked to him a couple of times, but we never really talked about the championship or nothing.
Just out there and driving as hard as you can, I guess. So today was a little bit of a different track from most of them. I believe it's the only Roval that you guys run out here in this series. How did you feel about Daytona? Do you enjoy getting out on the high banks?
I enjoy it. My biggest problem tonight was when I came out of the pits after my first full pit stop. I kind of slapped the wall, pulled a Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, it's very easy to do around here. It's that wall is very difficult, and I'm sure on cold tires, definitely tough to try and get that thing wheeled around. Well, again, congratulations on the championship. Nicely done today, and you did it in style with a top 5 even.
Thank you.
That was Kevin Santana, 5th place finisher, winner of the AM championship here in the prototypes. One more talk today. We've got Matt Owens. He was fighting for the GT3s. And GT3 AM championship, actually. So let's pull him down to the booth, and Smitty is going to ask him how that went.
Hey, Matt, first off, a nice job keeping it clean, keeping it all the way to the end. There was a time where you were not the AM champion. Now, let's talk about how the beginning of this race went, how things progressed, and, well, obviously how things ended up.
Yeah, thanks so much. The beginning of the race, I was just trying to get settled in. It's a lot of traffic. A lot of cars around you and things, so a couple positions were given up. I gained a couple as guys spun, but I knew that David Henry was getting ahead. He came off the relative up, couldn't see him anymore, and I knew that he was ahead. I didn't know the math, but I kind of figured I was out of it at the start, by the first stint.
Well, you came in leading. You knew you had a bit of a gap on him. But did you think that you actually were going to come under threat for this race, or were you coming a little bit more comfortable?
I I was a little bit comfortable coming in following the previous race at Atlanta where he had trouble early and I was able to run clean. He's a faster driver than me. He's really talented. And there's a lot of talent in this league. And I'm one of the back markers. But if I can stay clean and finish the race, I can usually make up positions. And if he crashes out, I get points. So I was kind of confident after the last race when that happened to him that it may happen again, but he's quick here. The roof is really quick here, and I just knew I just had to race my race. There wasn't much I could do about him.
Hey Matt, for anybody watching the broadcast thinking about maybe getting a part of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge, as a potential AM driver coming in, what would be your advice to any new driver coming in the series, and maybe anybody who was thinking maybe I don't know if I want to do it? How would you kind of get over the hump and jump into the series?
I think first off, the series has got a great group of guys. We are on TeamSpeak together a lot. We kind of hang out virtually a lot. We know each other really well, so it's a really good group of guys. Even without going on the track, it's a good place to be. The racing is obviously really high quality at the pointy end of the fields, but the AM Championship this season gave the middle packers and back markers something to race for. We didn't have that the first couple of seasons, so it motivates the new guys that come in and maybe think they won't be able to contend with the likes of Robert Tinsey or John Paquin or those kind of guys that are so fast. But the AM Championship gives you something to race for, which keeps it interesting all season long, even if you are off pace.
Well, Matt, once again, nice job on that AM Championship, and it looks like a top 10 overall in the series. Very well done. We're going to see you back here in season number 4.
Yeah, we'll be. I'll be back for sure. We're bringing in a new driver to the TMC team to race in GTLM. Tim McLeish is taking the summer off. I'll be moving to the HPD. So it's going to be a little bit of shifting around the teams, but we'll be back for sure.
Awesome. Thanks again, and well done. Joe, I think you got it all closing out for us.
Yeah, and I have to correct myself. Obviously, earlier I said that Owens did not take the championship. That was incorrect. I was looking at the wrong person there. So, yes, let's close it out for tonight. For the season, hopefully we'll see you back in season 4. But first, we need to thank the Autobahn Motorcar Group once again for being the official sponsor of the series. And, of course, John Ulmer. Thanks to the software and hardware that we use for our broadcast. You can see those listed on your screen. Additional thanks to our musical contributors, Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, whose music you can also find at the websites listed. And also, I would like to point out that I've heard from Casey Lalonde. He's working on more music, so there could be more stuff coming your way from him soon. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Smitty, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter, and that's at GSR Channel, and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race, that'll be the first round. They'll kick it off at Suzuka. That'll be Monday, May 23rd at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series on screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.